how we clean, how clean they are when they come through, and a lot of those things. The representatives, forgot his name, Steve Raines from AMSAN, did these a few weeks ago, and he'd only had one school in the years he's been doing this reach this level of certification prior to the other day, and both the high school and Alta Brown both reached this level. We haven't, like I said, we haven't done all our schools, but we wanted to recognize them for what they've done, for the hard work they do, and we've had recognition by word of mouth from a lot of places about how well our schools are kept. We've done some remodeling projects in one, and contractors and engineers that have come out from Wichita are amazed at the age of our schools and the condition they're in. And it's these people that keep them that way through their work. This isn't the only two schools that do good work. All our schools do real good work, and it'd be interesting to see by the time they get through all this training as to how many more schools, or through the inspections, how many more schools. This company is also coming out to give us some training. They're going to, next week, we're doing this when school's out. And we usually try to do something like this once a year. We're going to get some hands-on training with equipment, chemicals, and a lot of different things. So we keep trying to do things to improve what we're doing, trying to cut costs and everything else we can, but yet keep up what we've got. When we did the presentation for the budget, for the program budgeting, I had gone through some things, and with a new high school, we have increased square footage of buildings about 40% in the school district. And we've increased our custodial staff about 17%. And yet, we've had 2 years of the new high school, and we still reach this. So, I think they've done a great job, and they well deserve the recognition.
Notice we got some of y'all in the back. Would please stand so we recognize.
We have 18 custodians at high school, and we have 3 at Alta Brown. So we got quite a difference in the size of the schools, but so we have most of them here. And they're just anxious for this to get over with so they can get back to work. Or it's because they're getting phone calls and say, where's this and where's that?
Any questions or comments? Yeah, why don't y'all come through? We'd like to recognize you.
I'm going to shake your hand. Thanks very much.
Chuck, I think that's awesome. We appreciate the work that your staff does. And to echo what you said, the opportunities I've had to be at our buildings with state meetings and such, that's one comment that is consistent today is the quality of how our buildings are served. Thank you.
Thanks for recognizing the other custodial staff to the other buildings. I just wanted to make sure that all of their peers knew that we appreciate them as a team. So.
It'd be interesting. I haven't seen the rankings. These were only 1 point apart.
Wow.
Which they wouldn't tell me which is good. But it'd be interesting to when I finally get them all done and see all of those, just because I'm sure the rest of them come up high. Probably the one thing that catches is when they walk in during the day, school's going on, and walk into a restroom and there's paper towels on the floor, but you can't keep up with students. But all in all, they do an excellent job. So
Great.
proud of all of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Next, Russ.
I'm back.
That's awesome.
Good evening. I brought, I was supposed to have 6 kids with me, but it's headed into summer and it's interesting always to get the kids here. We got 4 that were able to make it tonight. Come on up, kids. I brought with me tonight our national qualifiers for this year in debate and speech events, and our state champion in prose interpretation from the state tournament a few weeks ago. And I'll introduce each of them in a minute. I tend to do a lot of bragging about the kids and maybe not as much about the program as I do, and I'm going to take a minute to do that. I think it's because this is my 20th year and I've been thinking a lot about the last 20 years. You kind of reflect when you hit those milestone points, and it's impressive to be a part of a program with the tradition of excellence that Garden City High School Debate and Forensics has. And I've been a part of that for the last 20 years, but it was here before I got here. I inherited some history of excellence as well. I only know the things about the last 20 years because those are the things that I've experienced. And I'm proud to tell you that in the last 20 years, the forensics program has had a full entry at our state tournament every year but one. The one year we had a full entry and a kid bailed on us at the last minute. She was pretty popular. That was supposed to be a joke.
We're not in forensics.
We've taken somebody to nationals in some event for the last 22 years in a row. In the last 20 years, with the exception of 3 years, our program has been in the top 5 in the 6A at the state tournament. So 17 of those 20 years. Good kids, great assistant coaches and head coaches who've come and gone, and an incredibly supportive board and administration. These programs, I say this every year, and I wish that we could get to a point where we didn't have to say it, but you know it's true. These programs are not getting cheaper, and we're not getting richer. And so thank you for your continued willingness to be supporting these things. That kind of excellence takes support, and that support happens from the top all the way down. I want to get to the kids now. I'm going to brag on the kids. This is Maggie Unruh. Maggie is making her 2nd trip to the national tournament in original oration. Isaac is on Isaac time. Come on. She's making her 2nd trip to the national tournament in original oratory. She also was the state runner-up in informative speaking this year, and we're hopeful that she'll have a pretty good run at nationals, either in her main event or with that informative turned into a supplemental event. This is Lacey Hobbs. Maggie's a junior. Lacey is also a junior. Lacey was our state champion in prose this year. And Eric Maxwell will be making his 3rd trip as a junior to the national tournament. I know that one of his long-term goals is to be the first 4-year national qualifier from Garden City. And so he's 3 years into that process. He'll be representing us in dramatic interpretation at the national tournament. He was 3rd in DI at state. This is Andy Loya, a graduating senior. And Andy will be representing us as a senator in the National Student Congress in June. So we can leave him if you want for parliamentary procedure. I think that just made him really nervous. And then on the end,
it made me nervous.
Isaac Silva, who is a sophomore, qualified in humorous interpretation to the national tournament and was 5th state tournament in that same event. Not with us tonight is Arendira Jimenez Gonzalez, who is also graduating senior and will be at the national tournament in Student Congress as a House of Representatives representative. So this is our national qualifiers and our state champion. At the state tournament this year, these kids were collectively, with their friends who are not here with us tonight, fifth. We had, the state allows us to take 16 entries to the state tournament. We qualified 50 entries for the state tournament and had to cull that down to 16. The remainder of those represented us at festival. And so, again, very quickly, statistical things. We took 17 events to state festival, 15 of them got 1 ratings. Out of the 16 entries we had at the state championship, 9 of them were in semifinals and 7 of them were in finals. So we had a pretty good year. And I'm very proud of the kids. We lose 2 seniors off of that team. So we're looking forward to some cool things to come. So I'll give you the kids.
Questions, comments for the kids?
They'll talk to you if you ask them questions.
What is a prose?
A prose is basically an interp event with a book. So it's acting with a book and you can't move your feet.
Should hear
It
about
can be anything that's not poetry or drama. So it's normal storytelling.
And if you actually are reading from a book? Or
Yes.
it's supposed to be felt like you're reading from a book? And
We're
it's
reading
memorized?
from an actual binder.
Do you pick it, or do they hand it to you and say, here?
I have a part in picking
We
babies.
pick.
Yeah.
So you could practice it?
Yeah.
You weren't just handed it
Yeah.
and said, go present this? So you'll present the same piece at nationals?
No.
Lacey's
that was-
actually the one among them who's not going to nationals.
Okay. But generally speaking, the pieces that you did, the dramatic or humor,
Yes.
all that.
Yeah, Isaac will be doing his HIDD state. Eric will be doing his DIDD state. Maggie will be doing her
Awesome.
speeches this year.
My question to you, Mr. Roy, are you going to continue in politics?
I mean, I don't know. Because I recently took college government, and like knowing the political process of our country, I don't want to get into that because it's so complicated, and like the things you have to do just to become a state representative, it's so complicated. So I think I'll hold off on that for a while.
What is your future plan?
I'm going to K-State this fall, and I want to go into mechanical engineering with a nuclear option. And I want to go into the medical field with that. So like radiology, chemotherapy, radiation, all
Andy
that good
is
stuff.
Garden City's nuclear option.
Yeah, you're already well educated over politics.
Yeah.
Please come through, Jim.
Good luck. Good luck. Good job. You'll make 4 years. No problem. Hey, good choice of colleges, by the way. And what was your
Good luck.
Not that you'll play. All right.
Oh, that's the only choice I have. Thanks.
Yeah, but you said medical, and I was like, oh, that just let me indicate.
Right. Moving on, Jane. There you are.
Yes, I'm standing. We get the freshmen together, ensemble, and then the sophomore, and then this is my name's Jane Vanderhoff. I'm the choir director at the high school, and I want to offer an honorary choir membership award to Mr. Root for singing the national anthem at graduation for you. And I think I saw Mr. Wallace singing a little bit too, so good job.
I was trying to harmonize, it wasn't working out.
I'm good with it.
I wasn't gonna say.
I elbowed him to get him to be quiet.
No, we like it. We like it, so thank you for joining us. This is a great group of kids. Solo and Ensemble is a Acacia event that takes place in the first weekend of April. It's solos and ensembles at regionals. And our kids know the value of improving their individual skills so that they can also contribute to the choir too. And this is all on their own time, most of it. We had 25 soloists who went to regionals and 4 ensembles. And out of that, we had 14, that was about 65 kids, and we had 47 who qualified for state, and that is 14 of the solos and 3 of the ensembles. And if you're counting, that was 12 motel rooms to monitor overnight. So, we're glad to do it. They're the cream of the crop. So what we have here is a freshman ensemble, and we are lucky to get ensembles to go to state. When we go to state, it's only 6A schools, and it's very scary because our resources for preparation are different than the other 6A schools, and when we go, we're honored to get to go, and we know we're going to hear wonderful music and learn a lot. And if we get a good score, all the better. So this was a wonderful year for us. Our freshman ensemble, there are 13 of them, and they are at the track banquet, and we have some that are at the show choir dress rehearsal tonight for our show. It's at 7 tomorrow night. If you're interested, we'd love to have you there. There's a state rubric that's used at Acacia events. This top score is an 80, and it's not about scores, but the freshman got a 79, which was amazing. I know, that's what I said too. I think I said something crazy on the bus when I was reading the scores. So here is our freshman ensemble, the ones that were able to make it tonight. Miranda Rutherford, Kaylee Knight, Jolie Ann Boyle, Brooke Stroop, Bailey Almus, and Erica Ramos. And these are the ones of the 13 that were able to come this evening. Next we had a sophomore girls ensemble that also made a 1 at state. There are 9 of them, so even harder, like a triple trio. We have Tegan Murison, Abby Guerrero, Melissa Raimundo, and the rest of them are off being busy at other things. We also had 3 soloists. If we get 1 soloist that gets a 1, that's great. What I haven't said is they get the honor of singing at the spring concert if they get a 1 at state. So that's something that is a huge honor for them too. So our other 2 soloists who are not here this evening, Michael Partridge is at dress rehearsal, Lexi Blackburn in the ensemble, and also Annalise Parr are at rehearsal tonight. But our 3 soloists were Michael Partridge and Avery Turner, and Memphis Palacios is here. And Memphis also got a 1 last year, and this year Memphis got a perfect 80 on her solo. So that goes in my file. That's a keeper. So I'm very, very proud of these kids. They're already trying to get their solos picked for next year. I mean, they're all over this, and that's what makes my life so easy. And I'm just thrilled I miss them when I'm not there. and I love being with them, and I love them. And that's what makes it all work. And I'm so proud of them, and thank you for your time.
Does it end at the state competition, or is there
For us,
national?
it does. That's as good as it gets for us. So they also have All-State Choir, which is a KMEA event in the fall, and we've already celebrated that. So they have a group participation event in the fall, and then in February is All-State Choir, and then they have solos and ensembles in the spring. And they're busy all year long, doing everything they can. Musical, everything.
Resources, you mentioned that earlier with the other 6A schools that we deal with. What?
The ones that are us in Dodge City are the only 2 6A schools west of Wichita. And most of them are in college towns. They have easy access to private teachers. They have concerts they can go to. They have workshops that come in. We sell butter braids, and we have people, we pay them big bucks and mileage to come in and work with our kids because we can't get there, and we're glad to do it. But all those, on Facebook, all my teacher friends are going, oh, we took our boys to the men's choir workshop at UMKC. Oh, we went to see the St. Olaf Choir. It's blah, blah, blah. Just like, well, I'll show them a video. So, and we do the best we can, and our kids suck up everything like sponges, but we just don't have the easy access and the live recordings that the other 6A schools do, and it doesn't hold us back, but that's reality, so we try as best we can to give them the experience that they deserve. Also, let me say, the reason why we were able to have this many students is my partner, Misty Baldwin, who is running the dress rehearsal for the show choir. We work together in these classes, and there is no way on earth we would be able to work with as many kids and have the results that we do unless we had that ability to work together. We're like two brains, one brain, and two people. We work very well together, and I have to give her credit for helping this program to be what it is. So she's a resource to me. I gotta have her.
Well, once again, Jane, it turned out awesome results, kids. That's hugely impressive. I mean, just to be able to go and accomplish and show off to the other 6A schools. Just very good.
Yeah, it's hard in the ratings room when you have to tell them how many medals you get. You have to tally up your results and then you tell them. And usually I'm like behind Lawrence Free State, and she goes, I need 56 medals. And I'm like, I need 2. This year I got to say, I need 30 medals. So it was awesome.
Thanks for coming, kids. Please come.
Thank you.
Did you get to dress up like a little Thank you so much.
Yes, they are fantastic. Special prize. I'll take what I get.
See, that's why I elbowed you.
I know you will.
My falsetto, what's right there? You ain't there, so I ain't taking my time.
Do we have any correspondence? Motion for the consent agenda, please.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Second,
Second.
or second?
Alex?
Yes, I didn't recuse myself, it's conflict of interest.
Thought you were gonna
I know.
I thought it was discussion.
Discussion.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just continue to be concerned. First of all, let me say, in the Herculean job of trying to make a very large school district work with a very limited budget, I don't think we can get a better staff or school administrator. But at the same time, I just want to bring to your attention, the board's attention, that realizing it's very difficult, I think anytime we have to make the budget cuts, and we cut the classroom, it's just cause for pause. And are we really doing, hopefully in an interim period of tight budget, the best we can? I have a lot of confidence in Dr. Aker and the staff, and I'm just impressed. But with that said, I'm concerned that we're cutting the classroom in this process in the consent agenda. Good process, all of that, but that's just something we have to be mindful of as a board. And that's just what I wanted to say. So I appreciate that opportunity.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Thank you. Shall we leave them out there?
I move that we leave Alex out.
agreement was voted on and approved by USD-457 teachers. In front of you, summary of the changes. Are there any questions? Excuse me, Dr. April. KJ?
It was overwhelmingly approved, like 336 too, so that makes me feel good. And I'd like to thank the negotiation team, all sides of the team. They obviously spent some good time together and did some good work. So I know that's a long process and it doesn't just happen. It takes involvement, thought, and sounds like you guys did a great job. So the board members that were part of that process was Alex, Deborah. So thank you. All members, appreciate it.
I'd like to echo that as well. Thanks to Laura for serving on the negotiations. Dr. Carlin this year took the lead with the negotiating board. And I think you did a great job. KJ, first time through on this, she did a wonderful job too. We've seen a lot of creativity come from KJ and funding. I think we're going to see more in the years ahead.
Any other questions? That being the case, we have a motion to approve the negotiated agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? You. We need to vote tonight on setting dates for the July board meeting. You sent a draft, and we're looking at July 7th and July 21st. Workable for everybody. We have a motion here to approve the July board meetings, please.
So moved. Second.
Laura? Any questions? In the draft is the rest of the meetings, so please review your calendars, and we'll vote on those.
The next meeting. And we did try to stay, there's a conflict year in and year out with the national school board meeting. And I think Joanne was able to avoid that conflict. It shows up in March this next year. So if we do have members of the board who wish to attend the national meeting, we will not have a school board meeting that time.
All right, all those in favor of the July date, please raise your hand. Opposed? You. Dr. Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, the board approved a 5-year strategic plan last summer, and it's a departure from the way that we've approached goals from the past. In the past, we set annual goals, and then we reported on whether we met the goal at one of 3 levels, either a threshold, a target, or a maximum. The goal of this was to be a little more forward-thinking, a little more long-term in our planning. And so this is a 5-year plan, and our goal on each of these areas was to show continuous improvement. That the important things are going to take a longer time than a year to implement and be successful with. So this is the first year, and I'm pleased to be able to report that in most areas, we are making that continuous improvement. And I'll share with you some details from the first initiative tonight, which is student achievement. And then we'll follow up in the coming board meetings with the other 2 initiatives. But I think we've made some real progress. We are, we still have a long way to go, however, to be where we want to be, and that is as a model school district. In front of you, you should have a paper copy of the update, and these are brief notes for each of the 15 sub-goals under Initiative 1. So you've got the sub-goal and then a brief description rather than writing the whole sub-goal out, but I think you also have a copy of the original 5-year strategic plan, so you can cross-reference those. I'm just going to hit the highlights here. I'm not going to stop and talk about each item unless you want me to. And if you do, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. So I'm going to go through this, but please stop me if you have questions or if you want me to explain it in more detail. Sub-goal 1.1, even though I'm not planning to talk about each one, I do want to start at the very beginning. It deals with the written curriculum, with new standards, and as you know, the big hurdle facing us right now is college and career readiness standards. And you as a board are, I think, very well informed and have, in fact, presented to others in the state about the new standards. This is the only time in my career that I can recall that we've had new standards in English language arts, math, social studies, and science, the 4 core areas, all basically coming at us at the same time. And so we've had to prioritize. We do have written curriculum now in place at the K through 6 level, and it's ready to roll. We are nearing completion at the secondary level in literacy, and that will be ready by the fall. We are working on math. This is our year to adopt new resources for math, and so we are in the process. The elementary team has already started working on that. The secondary team begins work on that June 2nd, so it's going to be a busy summer in terms of math. Science, the state has adopted the next generation science standards. There are about 10 states that have adopted the new science standards. And they're intentionally not called Common Core, but they very closely align to Common Core for college and career readiness standards. A team has been working at that from about second semester, and we are continuing to work on that into the new school year. The secondary teams are probably a little further along in terms of science. High school is basically written, and they're supporting the elementary teams as they update their curriculum. Middle school teachers have even been providing content professional development for elementary teachers who are not science subject specialists. So it's been a real team effort, and I think we're making some really good strides. Social studies is the next one that we'll need to tackle, but with everything coming at once, we haven't really addressed that one yet, except as they apply to the literacy component within the college and career readiness standards. 1.2, in terms of board goals, dealt with systemization of instruction. And this is the area where our district transformation initiative has been the major focus. We have a teacher-led steering committee that is overseeing an effort to provide, in some areas at least, a systemic approach to literacy. And that teacher-led committee has 4 subcommittees, or 4 other committees that they oversee. That is finding ways that we can be more consistent and more collaborative in terms of writing, reading, speaking and listening, and problem solving. All of those committees have met. Writing was the first out of the gate, and they rolled out what is called the RACE strategy as a district-wide initiative to teach students how to answer a question. And it starts at really pre-K and builds, it becomes more sophisticated in upper grade levels. But RACE stands for restating a question, answering the question, citing evidence, and then editing. It's an adaptation of another strategy. But that same basic pattern is how we're consistently teaching students to answer questions throughout the curriculum and throughout the grade levels. One of the things that the steering committee has done, and this is really unprecedented, I only know of one other school that's done this nationally, and that is Brockton, which is where we're modeling some of this after, Brockton, Massachusetts. And that is, we collected student work. It's easy for a committee to say, this is what we need to do, now go do it. The steering committee actually collected student work after it was done to see how well it was implemented and to provide feedback to suggest revisions in the implementation of the strategy. I think that is tremendous. It is unprecedented, and it's going to get it. That kind of thinking is going to get us farther than we otherwise would. So I'm very proud of that committee. They've got work to do. We've had, it's been a work in progress figuring out what the subcommittee's roles are, the committees on writing and reading and so on. But at our, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, I think we had a breakthrough in terms of how those committees are functioning, and I really look for great things to come from that process as we move toward a model school district. MTSS, I'm not going to focus a lot on. You're familiar with it. We've got it here on the walls, and you've heard presentations about MTSS several times in the past. You're familiar with it. We have really focused on reading and on data collection on that. I'll be glad to answer any questions about that, but yes, sir.
Just real quick, you mentioned Brockton,
Yes.
Massachusetts as being a model school
Right.
curriculum we're looking at, and that's not the math. Math, we're using something out of New York, or
Well, yeah, there are two different things there. Brockton, Massachusetts, Dr. Sue Zakowitz, who has come to speak to us, she works with Bill Daggett at the International Center for Leadership and Education. They transformed their school through a literacy initiative, and that's the piece that we're taking from Brockton. What you're talking about is more curricular resources, and that probably fits more in 1.1, but Engage New York is the resource that we're talking about there. 1.5, the Readiness Initiative, that's another one that you as a board are very familiar with and you've had several discussions about. But over the course of this past year, you approved the first grade readiness, you have now approved the second grade readiness, and we're about ready to present to you at the next board meeting, or maybe at least very soon, a third grade readiness initiative. These are intended to be very clear about what expectations are to move to the next grade. They're intended to be aligned to the new standards, and they're intended to involve parent engagement, to get parents engaged in communicating with teachers and with schools. And early results, I think, are very promising. So we'll continue to monitor that. It was another example of teacher empowerment, where teachers were given the task to come up with the process, and they've done that, and we've been supportive of them. I just want to note that this grew out of a couple of things. It grew out of board faculty meetings a year ago, and a little more than a year ago, about whether students were ready for kindergarten or ready to move on from kindergarten. And at that time, there was also talk at the state level. The governor had proposed a third grade retention model. If students weren't ready for fourth grade, at that point they would be retained. So it was an attempt to be proactive, and I think the staff has done a tremendous job of taking that and running with it and making it something that will benefit students in this district. 2.1 and 2.2 both deal with human resources personnel issues, and they deal with highly qualified teachers and increasing the number of teachers who are endorsed in particular areas, English as a second language and special education. I do want to tell you that the ratification that just took place in terms of the contract, which included language to provide a stipend for ESL teachers, we are seeing a real interest in that. A lot of calls, I'm sure Janie could tell you, a lot of calls about how do I sign up for that, how do I get the endorsement. I think will not only teachers benefit from that, more teachers will be trained, more will take the test, and students in the end will benefit from that. And and hopefully we'll be able to increase revenue as well. So I think that's a win-win all the way around kind of situation. 2.3, career planning and strategies. I don't want to dwell on a lot. Deb Jarmer could give you a lot more detail and a better quality information. I do want to share with you that they are making progress. This supports our academy model at the high school. And career plans of study, which are listed as part of that response. And we're supporting those. We're going to be supporting them more and more as time goes on. That's something that at the state level, KSD is really pushing and emphasizing that we need plans of study through the secondary level. And so we will definitely be revisiting that. 2.4, you've heard a report recently from the team from the high school. That's been a major initiative, and it's making progress. As I said, you just heard from them, and I think it's going very well. Long way to go, but headed in the right direction. Graduation rates. We are at 80.6 this year as our official four-year cohort graduation rate. That is the highest number that I have seen in my time in Garden City, and it is my belief that it will continue to grow. I thought the Telegram, by the way, did a great article on that Saturday, so thank you. Some really good information. If you didn't catch it, it's worth a read. But we've increased over the past 5 years in the neighborhood of 18%. I think she had the exact figure in the paper. Hispanic graduation rate has increased even more, and it is now even with the building rate. Again, that's the first time that's happened in my time in Garden City. So some really good work that's happening, not only at the high school, but throughout the system to support that. 3.1, professional learning communities. This is the one area that we've marked not making progress, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. Professional learning communities are in place. It's not that they're not in place, it's not that they aren't being done. The concern here is that they're not being done consistently across the board. Buildings are, they spend different amounts of time on it, they have different numbers of meetings, even have different responsibilities within them and across the district as to what the PLCs are tasked to do. So what we would really like to see is that be more consistently implemented. There was a survey that was done recently, and in general, I think there was some great information that we collected out of that survey. Overall, there were some very positive things, and there was general satisfaction. However, there were definitely some areas, some pockets where we need to look at that information to determine what we can do to be more consistent and more effective. We've worked on drafting some ideas about what that could look like. So this is going to be an area of focus as we move forward so that we are consistent, and when we say PLC across the district, we know what it means. It is very important as part of the MTSS process. If you look at the self-correcting feedback loop on the wall, that bottom left corner where it talks about collaborative teams, that's where PLCs fit in terms of that process. So for the data collection and analysis to be effective throughout the district, that's where it all begins.
Dr. Dennis?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like we have the potential to move forward with this goal item without an alternative calendar?
I think the alternative calendar would be very supportive of moving forward in this
But
goal.
is it hinged upon that, or do you think we can accomplish this goal without?
I think we can make progress toward this goal without the alternative calendar, but I think the flexibility that the alternative calendar would give us would accelerate the rate at which we could make progress. We'd have more opportunity for collaboration and more opportunity to share data back and forth.
The feedback you got from the survey, is that information that we could give to the calendar committee? Is it something that they could use, or is it something that is just FYIs?
Yeah, I think that's another example of information that we
what's actually defined by the negotiated agreement.
Okay.
And I think it does. I think it's representative, and we keep getting better and better results. I think we were pretty close to 38% that we were favored as we went through that process this year. And maybe we need to do a better job of educating staff of exactly what that would look like. And I think this year we saw some teachers from some of the buildings that volunteered that they felt strongly enough about it that they volunteered to help go out to other buildings and talk to teachers. And so I think there's some more we can do in terms of a grassroots effort to.
Are you ever getting some of the negotiation committee together with the calendar committee? Because when you're adding minutes in a day, and our days are so short, you're kind of stealing time from one thing and another. Maybe, I don't know, I think just, we're so close, it just seems like student achievement's gonna skyrocket once we get past this last hurdle, so just my thoughts.
Well, in talking to some of the people too, I think each building was taking, because it was gonna be a Friday afternoon for an early release, and I think each building was taking that Friday afternoon in a different perspective, and some of the teachers may not have liked what their building leadership was talking about for that particular Friday afternoon. Some really liked it, some may not have liked it, and I think that's where you're seeing the votes, is whether or not they liked what the plan was for that Friday afternoon. So it's not necessarily whether or not they liked the alternative, it's what was that plan for that time. And I was curious also, I know Alex and I got the surveys as part of the negotiations committee. I don't know if anybody else on the board got them or if it's something that they should have. I know there were a lot of negative, but in a positive way. Constructive criticism, thank you. So, and I don't know if that may be something that will shed light on this as well.
In answer to this question, I do not agree with entirely with the results of that survey, at least so that they can get that in their lives. I think that's a good suggestion.
I didn't mean to digress from your presentation. I just feel like we're so close, and it would be great if we could get there in another year, so.
Good question. 3.2, continuous job embedded professional development. That's what research says is most effective. And we respond to that with our instructional coaches, our literacy coaches, our math coaches. Their purpose is to provide professional development to staff on an ongoing basis. They do that in a variety of ways. They observe classrooms, they provide feedback, they do trainings, they work on curriculum, and as part of that, we also work with them, and it says at least twice a month, in some cases more than that, but to make sure that they're on top of where research is. We spent quite a bit of time this year on what's called letters training, language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling, again supporting the literacy needs of students across the district. So I really believe that for us to get where we need to go, and even to get as far as we have come, the coaching is a big part of that. 3.3, walkthroughs to provide feedback. Classroom walkthroughs revised every year. The purpose of the walkthrough is to collect information, collect data on what's happening in classrooms so that we can design professional development to support the needs of staff as they work with students. It's not the only way we collect data, but it is a way, and it's, I think, an effective way. Total number of walkthroughs recorded as of today when I checked, we're just shy of 6,000 recorded for the year, which is a little more than double what we had at this time last year. So we're making good progress on it. We're using the data. And new component we added this year was the opportunity designed within the system